With the Republican convention looming and oil prices once again nearing the $100 barrel mark, Mitt Romney prepares to unveil his energy plans. Good morning and welcome to the WSJ's News Hub. I'm David Riley of the Wall Street Journal. Also this morning, we'll be talking about how auto insurer Progressive has learned a pretty hard social media lesson, as well as looking at what employers can do to try and keep Gen Y workers happy. First, let's go to Davenport, Iowa, where Sarah Murray is with the Romney campaign. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so yesterday, Mitt Romney was in Texas for a fundraiser in the oil patch. This is getting in advance of him preparing to unveil a speech, I guess, later this week about his energy plans. What did he accomplish at this luncheon yesterday, and what's he trying to do in terms of his energy plans and setting the stage for the convention?
Well, he had two fundraisers in Texas yesterday where he raised about $7 million. And he basically said, here's a preview. I'm going to give you more details of my energy plan later this week when I'm in New Mexico. The one thing he has said about energy is he wants North America to be energy independent in 8 years, which is obviously a lofty goal. So far, he hasn't given a lot of specifics other than to say, I'll approve the Keystone Pipeline. The really interesting thing about that lunch was that then he told, the donors, a room full of people like oil man Harold Hamm, hey, we haven't, dotted the I's and crossed the T's, so if you have any input, let me know.
Right. I mean, if voters, I guess, have to take that claim of energy independence with 8 years with a big grain of salt, given that we've heard this time and time again, going back even to the 1970s.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that politicians have been promising this for a long time, and that's why we're waiting to see kind of what are the actual details, what are the production details that you have that you think is going to make this possible.
Now, of course, as you mentioned, this was a pretty high-priced luncheon and was a fundraiser, which and fundraising is growing even more important as we get into the final stretches of the campaign, and especially as the Romney campaign has to be looking to how do we close the gap with the president. Last night, we had the latest WSJ NBC News poll out showing that there really hasn't been much movement, that Romney is still about 4 points lagging the president, and maybe if we could get up some shots from that poll showing just, okay, there we have in the Midwest, for example, Romney's just a little bit ahead of Obama, so that's good news for him there. But overall, it's, I think Obama is 48 to Romney's 44%. What's the Romney campaign's plan for how over the next month, going into the convention, the post-convention bounce of how they try and close that gap?
I think they definitely are hoping that they do get a bounce from the convention, and that will focus more. There'll be more kind of bio stuff about Mitt Romney, in addition to more focus on his record as a businessman and that kind of thing. The other thing I think the campaign is awaiting is at the end of August, after this convention, they get to spend their general election money, which will give them a big cash advantage over the president. And they just plan to blanket the airwaves with that. And so they're hoping that, not only might they be able to drive their positives up a little bit with this convention, but they're hoping they can drive Obama's negatives up by just carpet bombing the airwaves.
Right. Of course, one thing that's interrupting their plans right now is the whole controversy over Missouri Rep. Todd Akin and his controversial remarks over rape. Rep. Akin decided yesterday not to drop out of the Senate race, and he'll only be able to do so now with a court order. How does the Romney campaign deal with this controversy going forward?
Well, yesterday Governor Romney officially released a statement saying that, given all of the calls for Akin to get out of the race, he supports that, and he also feels like Akin should get out of the race. That's as far as he's gone so far, and it took him a little while to get to that point. He basically waited until a bunch of other people piled on and then said, okay, now I'm calling for you to get out too. I think for the Romney campaign, they just want to be done with this. I mean, they don't want to talk about abortion. They've never wanted to talk about abortion during this election, and, they pretty much just want him to get out and be able to refocus on issues like the economy.
Right. Let's take a quick look then. This is particularly important in terms of the poll that we were talking about just then, of up on screen showing the difference between Obama and Romney with suburban women. There's a 5-point gap there. So I think this issue would certainly not work to Romney's advantage as he tries to close that particular gap.
Right. I mean, he's at a huge deficit when it comes to women issues. You said 5 points with suburban women, but if you look, there was another number in our poll that just said, Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, who do you think cares more about the issues women are dealing with? And President Obama had a 2-to-1 advantage there. So it's just this massive gap that they're going to have to try to make up with women. And, so far, not a real clear strategy for how they're going to do that.
Okay, so now in the next few days leading up to the convention, what is the message the Romney campaign is going to be trying to hammer home?
We're going to hear a lot more in terms of economic freedom, a lot more hammering the president for his "you didn't build that" line. We're obviously going to get more on energy. And, I think you're just going to see them make more of a push generally in the Midwest. Now that they have Paul Ryan on the ticket, their poll numbers are looking a little bit better in Wisconsin. And I think that's cheering them on a little bit, hoping that they can make inroads in the Midwest.